going on, guys? Welcome back to the Real with Joseph Lamtman. I am Joseph Lamtman, outdoors edition. I wanted to do this one outside today, guys. I was tired of sitting in the office and sitting here with the mic in my face. So why not come outside, get some fresh air, enjoy this last bit of nicer weather we have until it gets cold and cloudy. But uh, anyways, I'm outside today. Thank you guys for tuning back in. Welcome back to the Real. Um, so today's episode is a little different. I'm kind of just going to give an update kind of on where I am from when I started this podcast 7 months ago, back in April, to where I am now. Um, and kind of where I'm going moving forward. And so uh, when I started this podcast back in April, I did not, I didn't expect to be where I am now in a positive way. And so I'm thinking back at the last 7 months. It's been an absolute whirlwind of 7 months, and so there's been some down moments. I don't say down moments, but some challenging moments. By the way, if you hear a lot of noise outside, I'm in the woods, kind of, so there is some traffic by me, but just pay attention, and I'll try to talk as best I can. So, but if you might hear some noise in the background, it is what it is. But So again, when I started this podcast back in April, at that point in time, I was still kind of coming out of just kind of the downhole I was in. The downhole I was in up to really almost 7 years. So, but then leading up to that point, last in 2021, like I mentioned many times in the summer, I kind of spiraled downhill again, went down and got into down just deep in a bad hole. Um, and it took me about through that winter of last year around this time to kind of just settle down and started seeking more counseling and doing programs with the anxiety guy, and just really, doing things I had never really done before in healing. I'd done some, I was doing some work leading up to that point, but last year around this time was the first time I really fully said, all right, you know what? Anxiety, I'm addressing you head on. And that's what I did. And so uh, it led me all the way up until when I started my first podcast in April, my first episode. And I've told that story many times how I started that. That week, for instance, was one of the hardest weeks of my life. I don't say hard. Well, yeah, I mean, it's one of the most memorable weeks of my life. And down the road, I might look back at that week as maybe the most important week ever in my life, or one of them. It will be, because that week I had a lot of ups and downs. I was separated from uh, part of my family, so I had some bad separation anxiety that week. Uh, you know, so it's just really I was with my dad a lot that week, but I was going through a lot of just uncertainty, a lot of change, a lot of. I was kind of at a point in my life back in March. So this is the end of March, yeah. So I'm going through the journey, I'm going through the program, but I'm kind of at a point now where I'm like, all right, I understand what I have, what I've gone through. I understand what I'm feeling with my anxiety. I'm ready to take the next step forward, but oftentimes taking the next step forward can be actually more scary because you're kind of like, yeah, I want to do it, but being when you're in a state of fight or flight constantly with anxiety, you're constantly feel like you're under stress. You start to believe that's who you are, like it's part of your identity. And for a while, I believed that was kind of my identity, and so it was kind of uncomfortable to let it go. It was uncomfortable to move forward, and so that week, like I said, it was a long week. I filmed my first episode on Saturday. Again, this is going back from the end of March, where it transitioned midweek into first week of April this year. So I put my episode out on that Saturday. And the Thursday before, I had a bad panic attack that morning. Bad panic attack. Bad panic attack. I mean, it was bad. And, it just happened early in the morning. I couldn't sleep that night. I was nervous about a lot of things. And the week was kind of wearing on me. And I kind of just hit like a boiling point where, I just couldn't take it anymore. Like I just couldn't. I was just tired of that feeling I had. I had the anxious up and down feelings all week, and I was just felt kind of stuck. And but deep down inside, what was really causing it was, there's so many things I wanted to do I still wasn't doing out of fear. I was holding off because of fear, and I was holding off because of, like I said, I was living in that comfort zone. And so I had a bad panic attack that morning. Um, Kind of funny that day, just so happened I had a scheduled appointment with my therapist that day, and so that worked out. And so I ended up talking to him later that day, and I was able to kind of sort things out and kind of rationalize what I was going through that week and that day. And so um, after that, I, you know, that's when I started really focusing on. I wanted to do this type of podcast. I wanted to do this type of show, and so, but I kept holding off for a while just because I was afraid to. It wasn't easy to come on here and say this to you guys and say where I am and what I'm doing. And so, uh, it's not easy to come out and be vulnerable and say where you are, where you've been through, what you've been through. Uh, it's not easy, but luckily I had good people around me that supported me. But I also had good role models, like the anxiety guy. When I saw Kwame Brown come out and finally share the truth of what happened to him, that really inspired me, because for years all I heard was this guy was a bust, this guy was a bum. Uh, he's this, he's that. All you hear was what people like Stephen A. and the media said about him for years. And it comes to find out when he tells the truth, it was all a bunch of BS. And the guy spoke his truth, and you see what he's doing now. You may not agree with everything he says on his show, but you can't say the guy's not real when he's not honest. And I mean, a lot of what he said was true, and it was true, and he showed why it was true. But again, he spoke his truth, and you see how free he is. You see how free the anxiety guy is. You see how free a lot of people are that do these types of things. And so these are a lot of people that I've watched and inspired me to do that initial video. And so, um, but again, I was putting it off for a while because it's not easy. You're going out of your comfort zone. I was very comfortable being comfortable. So, you know, I had to finally break out of that. And that week in particular pushed me to the limits. And when I had that panic attack that Thursday, um, that's when I said, it was funny too. Like, I remember like happened early in the morning, and later on that morning, I remember I was sitting there and I said, you know what the hell do I have to lose? Like, now's the time. You know what I mean? There's no more waiting. I just got to do it. Like, I don't got to be done a certain way. Just turn the camera on and just say it. Do it how you want it. And I thought about doing like an audio one for a while, recording one, just my voice. But I'm like, I kind of went off of what I like. I like to see people's faces. I like to hear people's voices. I want to hear your voice. I don't like. I'm not somebody that really likes texting a whole lot. Like I do. It's good to start off, or maybe if you know somebody, you got to ask them something quick, or hey, how you doing here and there. But for the most part, I'm like an old soul. I guess I am. I like to hear your voice. I want to see your face, but I at least like to hear your voice. That's just how I am. And so, because there's no emotion with texting, I can tell you something, trying to tell you how I feel about something, but you may not get it through text. You just read it. And so, I wanted to do it like this. And so, a couple of days go by, Friday happens, Saturday happens. I'm thinking about it. And I've told this story before. I went out that Saturday morning, and I was out driving around the area where I'm from, where I live. And I get to, anybody knows who lives in the Akron area, I get to the gorge. And I get on the Akron side of the gorge, right? By Swenson's and all that. And anybody knows that area, there's a lot of homelessness that goes on there. And it's like real. It ain't no like, I know sometimes here and there you get to people that really aren't homeless holding up signs, which is a shame. But if anybody knows Akron really and knows that area, knows that's like homeless city now, unfortunately. A lot of them live over there. And so, I went through there. I was cutting through there in a car, and I'm sitting there, and I remember I looked over at my dad, and he's like, we were talking about like, hey, he's like, why don't you just do it today? Quit putting it off. I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm like, I know, right? I'm kind of like, I know, Dad. I know I need to do it, and And so I look over and I see this homeless guy, right? And this guy was, you could tell this guy was just, he was where he was. And, I'm looking at the guy and I'm like, this guy's on the side of the highway. He said he was ex military, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, I think he was ex military, which there's a lot of those, unfortunately. Um, that's what they end up. And so this guy in particular, you can just look at his face. And you can tell by his face, this guy hadn't slept ever, like in a long time. Probably hasn't eaten in a long time. Didn't really have much, but a crate and a cardboard sign that says help. That's it. And I remember I saw that. And, I've had some points in my life when I was younger, never that extent, thank God. But I did have some points along my journey. My family had our ups and downs when I was a kid for a little period. And there was a point where we were kind of semi homeless. And so when I was about 7 years old, we just, things happened. Um, but I never forgot that feeling as a kid, just how different that was, living in someone else's house. Luckily, now I'm grateful for that. It was family helped us out, and forever grateful for it. I still had a roof, still had cousins to play with, and uh, you know, food on the table every night. So I still had it good, but it was different. It was different. It wasn't normal for about a 6 month period, but my mom and dad didn't complain. My dad worked for 45 days straight. My mom, took care of me at home and made sure I was good, uh, and we got out of it, and everything's been great, and the rest is history. And so, uh, but through that, though, I remember how I felt, and just imagine somebody being in a lower hole than that. And so, long story short, I see this guy, and I'm looking at him. I said, you know what? If that guy could stand out there and do that every day because he has no other choice, then I really have no excuse. So, who cares? And I knew the Lord put it on my heart to share my story because I know there's people out there that need it. And there's not many people my age that, in general, I think my age group in particular, because there's a lot more different kind of stresses on us with social media and stuff. And so I said, screw it, I'll go for it, and I'll be the one to do it. Or one of the ones. I'm not the only one, but I'm not some pioneer. I'm not put myself on a pedestal or anything. But I knew me speaking up would hope it just helps someone. And so I went home that day and I started recording the episode, and I hit pause and start like 100 times till I got it going, and I just finally just went for it, and yeah, and the rest was history. And here I am, episode 51 now. I just got done with episode 50 last week. That was awesome. My man Mike and Dan and my dad. Uh, that was pretty cool. Just sit up there and talk, just kind of BS about sports and all that kind of stuff. But uh, yeah, I mean, it's crazy to see how far I've come now since then. And the moment I've put that episode out, that next that night, that next day, when people were calling me, people I haven't heard from really in a while too, were reaching out. Because I was away for a long time. I was kind of silent. Nobody really heard from me or saw me, just because what I was going through. I just isolated myself. And so, through all that though, that day, that night, that next day, I felt like a change inside of me was happening, like a sense of calm and peace that I hadn't felt in a long time, like a sense of freedom that I had been craving. A sense of I finally did something. Uh, Finally, like it was like an emotional win for myself. It was a win for me, and hadn't had a win in a long time up until that point, for years. Because for years I was down in a hole, and so no, I had wins along the journey, like personal small wins, but that was a big win, and that was a big moment. That was a big shift, and I knew something would come out of it. I didn't know where it would lead me, but now here I am, only 7 months later, and I'm still new at this kind of. I'm still early on and smaller and growing, but I'm not. Forget about the channel, this YouTube channel. Forget about uh, the show itself. It's more about I'm talking about what it's done for me, which is and what it's done for other people. And what it's done for me is given me a better understanding of who I am. You know, I was talking with my man Dennis, the anxiety guy, recently on one of his lives, and I need a drink of water. I need to get cotton mouth. I need some water. That's one thing I did not do that I learned in my first episode. If you guys go back and watch that first episode, I did not take water breaks at all until I finally decided to pause. I was gasping for air. I mean, I was like, "Gosh, that was something." But I had cotton mouth like crazy. Yeah, I was so tired after that too. But it was all worth it. But back to what I was saying, I have a, it's, it's given me a better understanding of who I am because and like I said, I was talking with my man Dennis, and he was using me as an example in one of his lives. He said he was talking about how when you come out and you do your own show and you share your journey, it kind of cements, and you start speaking on these things that you've learned. It really cements them within you, and you really start like your belief in them grows more, and that's what it's done for me. And so, my belief in not only who I am, but also, what this healing journey is. It's given me a deeper understanding, to more clarity of my past, and kind of like what I really wanted. What was like, it's made me go deeper. And I hope that makes sense. Like, it's made me really dig deeper into what caused my anxiety, what happened to me, why I thought and rationalized things a certain way that were incorrect that I learned when I was a kid, and kind of what kind of habits do I need to do now moving forward, not just now and just forget about it, but no, from this is like a lifestyle change. What are some things I need to change, and that's what the last 7 months has really taken that to a whole nother level. I was kind of already doing those things, but like I said, this show, when you speak these things and you really allow yourself to be more vulnerable. Each show for me, most of them, for the most part, especially I'm talking about more heavier hitting topics, those are vulnerable moments. And don't get me wrong, guys, I still have times when I do these shows, not as much recently, but especially back in the spring when I started doing more of them, I would still get really nervous when I was doing it because you're really saying a lot of things that are real personal and real, uh, you know, yeah, I mean, you're just being a lot more personal. You're being very vulnerable. And so now vulnerability is key. Vulnerability is key if you want to heal. Vulnerability is key if you want to get anywhere in life. Sometimes you got to be uncomfortable sometimes to grow. And God is like that. God's more interested in your. Yes, God wants to bless you and supply you with all things you want. And those type of things. But God's more focused on your spiritual growth. And so that's first and foremost. And that leads me to my next point of, this is probably the biggest point that this show has done for me, is spiritually. This show has made me dig deeper spiritually more than I ever have. I've been a Christian since I was a young kid. I accepted Christ as my Lord and Savior. But through my journey, I've kind of had ups and downs and times where I should have spent more time with Him, and I was focusing on other things to help me. Like, I was kind of letting my depression, my uh, my depression, and kind of my just those, yeah, I mean, along with depression, really just the dark feelings and emotions, and the just the grief. It was like a grieving on the inside for a long time for me, and that's something I'm still working. I've worked out of, still working out of now, guys. Like, that's why I wanted to make this video today. Like, hey, this is where I am still, um, you know, but I'm not where I used to be. And the show really helped me spiritually because it helped me, instead of when I got in those dark moments, relying on other things that would not really help. It gave me, I get a little, I get a little clarity, maybe a little, um, what's my words? A little relief temporarily, but it would always come crashing back down again. It was like an up and down roller coaster nonstop. And it's like I say all the time, it's like a hamster running on a wheel, right? And so this show has helped me dig deeper spiritually, because it's kind of lit a fire in me. Like, it's just reignited like that spirit. Like, it's just it's part of like my daily routine now. I have certain things I do daily now. Certain verses I read every day. There's certain prayer time I take out every day. Strong prayer I try to take out every day. Meditative prayer. Um, what else? I mean, kind of more just self-reflecting, more being honest with myself, more inner dialogue and conversations, things of that nature. More just spending time listening to people, listening to people like Tony Evans and Charles Stanley I played on this show, and other people, and it's made me really connect with more people personally in my own life, spiritually, being more vulnerable. Like I'm not afraid now to share who I am and what I've been through. Like it's just like this show has given me like a sense of freedom that I never had. Like personally, like for a long time growing up, I tried to uh, conceal, hide. I always felt like I had to be a certain person around other people, and I think this show has helped me also learn more about that, learn more about how like growing up, I noticed through playing sports, going to private school, and all those things are great. I had great memories and great people along the way, and great experiences. But with those things comes a lot of pressure, right? A lot of pressure and a lot of expectations put on you. Sometimes too much. And I think as a kid, I've realized, looking back now, that I've had time to sit and reflect and kind of rationalize everything and slow down and think is, a lot of those things contributed to me seeking approval from others, seeking attention from people, seeking, you could be seeking love, you could be seeking all kinds of things, but you're also trying to live up to these false expectations and these standards constantly. And I think, that's helped me kind of grow out of that. It's helped me get out of that because I'm at a point now in my life where when you constantly allow yourself to be vulnerable, health in a healthy manner, uh, you know, as some guy peels out his bike, it's helped me really when you allow yourself to be vulnerable more. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. That guy threw me off. Anywho, when you allow yourself to be vulnerable more, it really you just have more freedom because you don't really care as much. And that's what happened. The more I've done these shows, the more of these episodes, I don't really care as much anymore. Like I don't. It doesn't bother me as much. I still have my moments with certain things, because there's certain things like I'm still uh, getting used to, and so like things I've never done. For instance, talking to certain people, um, you know, doing those kind of things, and so. But I've learned though through my experience and through that episode, and that is in the first episode I've done is just be you and just speak your truth, and everything will take care of itself. And I think this is kind of what a lot of people are nowadays are afraid to do is just be who they want to be who they truly want to be. Everybody's trying to portray an image now, and this is kind of like a societal issue. And I think that's why it affects me, but it affects everybody because it really is like a societal pressure nowadays. So many people are trying to live up to these false expectations and these standards. Everything's got to be done a certain way. Like for instance, like I use dating a lot as an example. I've never dated. I've never been in a relationship. I could have been, but I wasn't in the right state of mind, and just not really kind of the you know weren't kind of my things anyway. Like my wasn't my thing when I was younger. I wasn't really interested. Then when I got a little older, I could have maybe more, but where I was in my journey, I wasn't really thinking about it still. And quite frank, I'm not somebody that just settles for anybody. Like I'm not saying that's. I mean, some people do that. That's what you do. Like for me though, I don't. I'm not somebody just kind of like bounces around. Just I don't not somebody just needs to be with somebody just to be with somebody. And yeah, that's what I really mean to say. And so, trying to catch my words, guys. But yeah, I mean, I'm not somebody just to settle. Like, just I'm not like that kind of person. But I don't need to be like that. But now I've gotten a little older, more older, more mature. That is like a natural. That's a natural craving. You want to meet somebody, the person you want to, the God has designed for you. And so, like for instance, with that, and so when I think of that, you know, uh, I look at it more towards. I'm trying to view it towards God's lenses more. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes we have flesh in us. We get kind of, you know, you can get down at times. You can think about it, and you can kind of be you know, uh, what's the word? maybe just kind of sad about it. You could feel sorry for yourself, I guess you could say, and kind of just, woe is me. And I think that's what it leads. And you hear all this stuff out in public about, and this is kind of what I was getting at, just how in the world tells us how to date. And I'm just using this as an example. This is one of many things. How to date, how you should have a job, what kind of financial status you should have by this age, and all this stuff. And it's pressure, constant pressure. And we see people around us to have all these things. And we think, oh man, I'm far behind, or I don't have it. Like, and you get down on yourself. You can get depressed. You just get really low on yourself and have low self esteem and low self worth. But going back to the spirituality of it, I'm kind of connecting all this together. Sorry if I'm rambling a little bit, but I hope I'm making sense as somebody else peels out their motorcycle. Um, just connecting more with God and learning more in tune with the Spirit has taught me to let that go in His hands more. And the more I've let that go in His hands, the more clear it is for me, and the more I trust God that whatever the time is, however it may happen, it could be happening now. I don't know. You know, however God brings that person to my life, it's in His will. It's aligned with His will, and so I trust Him. And so I'm just using that as an example. That could be for anything, your career, like I said, or maybe you're going through anxiety and you're trying to get out of a hole. Align yourself more with what God says and what truth says. And you align yourself with truth, the truth shall set you free. And so that's what I've learned in the last 7 months. I've done a lot of things, guys, behind the scenes. I would have never done. I would have never done some things I've done. And I'm positive. I'm not saying like I'm going on doing some crazy shit, but no, there's a lot of things I've done being more vulnerable privately, like in my personal life, uh, that I would have never done 7 months ago. Maybe not even 5 months ago. And so this show as a whole, and I'm gonna conclude with my where I am here before I have a quick video. It's like 6 minutes. It kind of helps give more context where I am. Um, this show has helped me just be more kind of just going for things and just kind of looking through beyond the doubt, looking through the illusions, and looking through, because for a while, like I said, this is what it's really taught me the most, and this is what I'm getting at, is I thought about all the negative things and all the bad things and what could possibly go wrong before, if I started doing these type of if I started doing this podcast, if I could spit the words out. If I started doing this podcast, I started looking at all the wrong things that could happen. And a lot of the wrong things I was thinking of were just illusions. And those that the fear was holding me back. But then when I finally did it and I saw the reaction and I see now how it's helped me along the way, it's kind of like a one example of anything in life, which is if there's something you feel like you want to do, something you feel like you need to do, or you need to say to someone, or whatever it may be, just go for it. And you know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean you go, climb Mount Everest today, but if you start focusing on truth and aligning yourself with truth and blocking out all the outside noise and all that stuff and really being honest with yourself, you start to really realize and you start to get more comfortable, the more you take those little baby steps, being vulnerable, right? And that's what I did for a while to help me get to that point to where I finally said, screw it, I'm going for it. But when you finally allow yourself to have one breakthrough, you kind of look at everything else as like not as challenging. And I hope that makes sense, but it's kind of like you view fear and illusions much differently. And that's how I view things now. I view change differently. I embrace uncertainty. I embrace change. I embrace you know vulnerability now. I still have my moments. I had moments. I've had moments in the last week. I've had some tough moments with anxiety, but I'm able to have more my self empowerment's much higher now than it's ever been. And so that's really what it builds. When you have that belief and you can see through those illusions and you feel like you can really do anything as long as you just put your mind to it and have goals. And sometimes you got to play the long game, and that's okay. And I've posted about that before on my social media. Sometimes playing the long game's okay. It doesn't matter how fast you're going or how far you've gone, or what people are saying people are around you are telling you still don't have, and all this stuff. As long as you're on your way and you believe in yourself and you have a goal and you're on your way towards it, you're heading towards it each day, you're good. And so that's my mindset now. And that's kind of where I am. I hope this is kind of makes sense of where I am, which is, I'm still going through it myself. I still have health anxiety moments sometimes. Uh, for a long time too, I battled with agoraphobia, which agoraphobia is hard to leave your house and those kind of things. Um, or like for instance, for me, there was a time period I couldn't leave my house, and there was a time period where I couldn't only go a certain distance away from my house. And so, but I've been growing out of that more and more, step by step, and growing out of my health anxiety more step by step. And so, but again, just allowing myself to be vulnerable and putting myself out there and going for something I wanted to do, and not just this, but other things. It's opening doors for me personally, and just in my life in general. And so, uh, but again, it's hard to let go. And I feel like there's still some things in my life now where I'm still kind of like trying to let go more of. And so, but with that, I have a video that goes along with that about letting go. It's a 6-minute video. It kind of goes along with a lot of what I've been saying today. Because I'm sure, I hope if there's somebody out there maybe where I was or where I am, I hope this has helped you in some way. Please leave a comment. Please leave a comment, or if you have before, I know some people have hit me in private and let me know what you think. And so, if you have any questions, and so, yeah, I'm gonna take a deep breath, get some more water. Mm-hmm. And so, I'm gonna get some more water. I'm gonna play this video. I'm just gonna play it straight through. Uh, like I said, it's a 6-minute video from my man, the anxiety guy, and then I'll give some commentary on it, and yeah, we'll wrap it up. But anyway, I'm gonna get to this video. Go subscribe to my man, the anxiety guy. This video is called "Anxiety versus Freedom: The Reason You Can't Let Go." So this is a lot about resistance in this video, and this is something that's a lot of what I've been talking about today with my journeys. I faced a lot of resistance, and so, but this will show you how to face that resistance. This is kind of like what I went through, and so yeah, I'm gonna get to the video.
Yes, warriors, welcome to this video. Today, I'm giving it to you the unconscious reason for why you don't want to overcome your anxiety. Now, let's understand something here. There are people out there trying to overcome their anxiety, trying to live a better life, trying to move past this chapter in their lives, and once and for all, be free to do what they want to do, think how they want to think. They frantically look for relief everywhere. Methods, techniques, books, supplements, you name it. Now, there's a problem here. The problem is that these people, and comment below if you can relate, these people, along with myself during my anxiety recovery, have grown very, very dependent on their anxiety because it has become a part of their identity. For example, when I was going through anxiety, I had a beautiful, and still do, a beautiful fiance. Okay. And she was with me throughout the entire journey, every step of the way. So unconsciously, I built up this identity around anxiety. When I started to come to her for reassurance, she came back with love. She came back with support. A lot of friends out there that I had, I used to walk around them and they used to go, hey, here's the anxious guy coming around. And I used to go, hey, there's some significance there. It makes me feel like I belong in this group. And I started to build this identity up throughout anxiety. And no matter where I went, I was the anxious person. Okay. So it was a part of me. It was a part of me as much as my arm is a part of me. It was a part of me as much as my legs are a part of me. And the idea of overcoming this for me and many anxiety sufferers out there was inconceivable. It wasn't conceivable to overcome this and to move into a different emotional state altogether. So, what I had to do was I had to have a conversation with myself. I had to say, you know what? Yes, I've grown dependent on my anxiety. I see myself as an anxious person. Other people see me as an anxious person. Yes, my family is around me, maybe because I'm an anxious person. And look at all the attention I'm getting. Look at all the success that I'm getting from work, whatever it may be. You've attached your identity to those different aspects of your life that are getting better, that you've seen success in. And because this is the case, you unconsciously sabotage your anxiety recovery because you take 3 steps forward and you take 4 steps back because of the fear of success. And this is what I had for many, many years. I said, you know what? What am I going to do with all this new time that I have when I overcome anxiety? I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know if my friends are going to accept me. I don't know if my fiance or wife's going to hang around me. Am I going to see the same amount of love? Am I going to see the same amount of success in my career? I grew dependent, just like many, many anxiety sufferers out there. And what you got to do is you have to have the talk with yourself. And the talk that I had was, okay, here I am. I'm in a pickle. I know what I need to do to move in a different direction, to change my identity. But am I willing to do that? No, it's too scary. I don't know what it's like at the end of the tunnel. I just don't know. And because it's foreign, my brain thinks that it's painful. So, 3 steps forward, 3 steps back. Not good. I had to say, you know what? Here's what I'm getting in my current identity. Here are the experiences that I'm gaining in my current identity. Yeah, there's some good areas, but you know what? For the most part, extremely painful. Painful living with this, painful avoiding certain environments that I want to find myself in, painful not fulfilling the needs of my relationships, painful that I haven't fulfilled my dreams and my goals in my life right now. I had to have the talk and I had to grow away from that old identity that attached itself to anxiety. And then I had to come from a place of understanding what kind of pleasure I was going to gain from creating, molding this new identity that I wanted to create. This new identity didn't have anxiety with it. The old identity did. So my question to myself was I willing to live with this old identity for the rest of my life? The answer was no. And when I grew dissatisfied, and when I once and for all committed to a program, a method, whatever it may be, to get myself to go towards a new identity, everything started to change for me. My friends, you have to understand that even though you've grown dependent of anxiety, you can release yourself. You can release yourself once and for all from that world. Okay? You have to first and foremost understand that it's conceivable to live without anxiety. Your time is better spent somewhere else, thinking about other things, behaving differently, finding yourself in different environments. But you must have the talk with yourself. You must once and for all gain that dissatisfaction that you need to move towards a different identity, my friends. So do not unconsciously hold on to anxiety because you're doing it right now. You're doing it. You're sabotaging your recovery by taking 3 steps forward and 3 steps back simply because it's unfamiliar, simply because you've grown dependent of your anxiety, and simply because it's inconceivable to live without anxiety. But I'm here to tell you that the life that you're going to live is so much better. Go through the 4 weeks of pain, go through the 3 months of pain in order to get where you want to go. Because, my friends, it is a beautiful world, a world of thinking freely, a world of peace, a world of relaxation, and a world of you fulfilling the goals and dreams that you want in your life. So have the talk. Love you so very much. Subscribe to the Anxiety Guy YouTube channel, my friends, and I'll see you in the next video.
Yeah, and another great video from man Dennis, the anxiety guy. But I love what he said there at the end. And I said earlier, commit. There we go. Commit to the long term, and that's it. You just got to commit. You got to have a have a goal, have goals, and you don't have to go for the biggest goal right away, but have short term goals. Start building you up. Start working on you. Start rebuilding you, and that's kind of what a lot of this is, guys. That's what a lot of what healing is. It's healing's not just something you just do. Healing's part of just the lifestyle change. It's something you've always do. You're kind of evolving. You're evolving from that old identity that you want to leave behind. You connect, like you said, you connect a lot of pain to that, and that's something I did. I connected to enough pain with that version of me, my old self, to where I wasn't doing the things I wanted to do. I wasn't having the fun I wanted to have. I wasn't um, having the kind of relationships I wanted to have, and at least try and at least be have the confidence to do the things I want to do, right? And so, but again, it took me to take one step, one leap. I had to get uncomfortable, and I think God called me to do this, obviously, and I think for a while I was putting it off, and if you put things off, and if you don't trust Jesus fully, if you don't trust God fully, you're going to have a lot of sorrows in your path. You're going to have a lot of ups and downs, and I experienced that for a brief, and that week in particular, like I said, before I went led up to my first episode, really pushed me to the limit, and so to where I said, you know what, and like I said, when I saw that guy sitting on that corner that Saturday, and I said, you know what the hell do I got to lose? Like, what's there to be afraid of? Am I focusing on what God wants to do and what's truth? Or am I focusing on what the world says to do and what the world says is acceptable and trying to fit in? And I've never been that kind of person anyway, so I'm kind of like, why am I thinking about that? That's not me. Just go for it. The hell with it. And that's what I did. And wasn't easy. It took me many tries to, like I said earlier, to record that. But I'm just using this as an example. If there's something out there maybe you've been putting off, maybe there's somebody you need to, like we all maybe go for this one, or maybe there's somebody out there you need to contact. Maybe there's somebody you need to tell somebody something. That could be something. Maybe there's another job opportunity, another career you want to pursue that you believe you can do, but you've always been afraid to do it. Maybe start taking those steps. Start making goals to get to that point. Allow yourself to be vulnerable. Allow yourself to, do what you want to do and be free. And so, uh, again, like it says there, like if I can point to the right, see, I'm looking at the screen. It's like over here is here. Okay, like it says there, commit to the long term. And that's what you got to do. You got to commit to the long term, and you got to be faithful. You have to believe in something. I mean, it's hard for anybody. Like I said, and I wrote it down. Actually, I heard that earlier from Charles Stanley. That's what he said. He said, "Many sorrows in your path." I'm reading it right here. Many sorrows in your past if you don't trust Jesus. And so it's very hard for a lot of people that don't have that kind of connection to commit to things, because you got to have a spiritual side to you. You got to have belief. What do you believe in? And again, that's just my opinion. Some people may not agree with that. That's your own belief, and God gives you that option. You don't have to choose God. He gives you that choice. Now that you're the one that chose that, so you got to, whatever comes with it, that's on you. But uh, believe in something, and just but commit to the process, commit to the long term, and just trust and start believing in yourself. You can get to where you want to get to. I'm an example of it, and I'm still getting to where I want to get to. You think I'm fully where I want to be yet? Absolutely not. But I focus on what helps me keep going is I focus on where I've come from. And I focus on the things I've done and I'm doing now. That helps me stay in the present moment. And I try to be present, and I try to, because it's very easy for me to get impatient and to look too far ahead, and to start, you know, kind of like, easy to give up on things, maybe. But I've never really been somebody that wants to give up on things. I try to be patient as I possibly can, but you have to have God to get through that. And for a while, I wasn't doing that, and that's why I was getting more frustrated and just more angry. Really, I was angry for a long time, and so uh, again, commit to the long term. Just commit to the long term and watch what happens. And that goes for me. This is a reminder for me today too, guys. I got to commit. Things in my life I got to be patient about still. It's like sometimes I'm kind of like, all right, God, I've been waiting long enough. Like, come on now, when are we gonna have something happen? Like, we just got to keep going, step by step. And so um, that's my message for today. That's my update on kind of where I am. Uh, I hope this helped you guys, and I hope there's somebody else out there maybe does something like this in some way. You don't have to do it like this, but share your story. Put yourself out there. Share it with someone else in private. Just share it. Write it down even. Say it out loud. We need to stop suppressing so much and start expressing more in a positive way. And you don't have to hold these things in. You don't got to try to be somebody you're not. You can truly be free, and you can be who you want to be. You just got to believe in yourself to do it. And you have to, like he said there in that video, and I've said that many times because I've experienced it. Have you associated enough pain with where you've been? Is there enough pain there to finally just say, you know what, the hell with it? I know I can do it, and I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna go for it. And doesn't mean you go do it all one day, but like I said, you start to strive. You make plans, you make goals, you write down, you be honest with yourself. Look yourself in the mirror, and what are some things maybe in your life you got to get rid of? Sometimes that could be hard, that could suck, but sometimes that's what you got to do. Sometimes you have to set boundaries with certain things, with people. Um, you know, if you really want to get somewhere, how bad do you want it? Hmm? How bad do you want it? That's on you. And so, again, I got to the point where I said enough was enough. And after, gosh, 8 years, yeah, well, yeah, 8 years really. It took me 8 years. So it took me 8 years to finally just truly let it out what I wanted, who I wanted to be, and what was inside of me, what was holding me back. And so, again, if I can do it, anybody can do it. And, you know, just tell anybody. Like I said, just express. And, it's very easy, too, to make you. A lot of people, especially with anxiety, we think we're good mind readers. We think we could judge people. Probably a lot of times we're not. We probably suck at it. So, especially people with anxiety, we suck at mind reading. Um, and I was guilty of that for a lot of times too. Like when I went to new environments and things in my past, when I was uncomfortable, because I felt like I was really uncomfortable. And that uncomfortable feeling made me want to isolate more, because it made me think, oh, people are probably thinking this about me, or they're probably like this. Now you're almost like making an assumption about them before you don't even know them, and you think this is how they think about you, and it just spirals out of control. And that's just another example that something I've been through. But again, don't worry about how you think people may think of you. And a lot of times it's the complete opposite. A lot of people are just waiting for someone else to say it. And that's what I learned when I did this. There's a lot of people, when I came out and said what I've been through, I had a lot of people tell me in private, even on Facebook and the comments and stuff. It was, couldn't believe some people were telling me, like, hey man, I go through that too. Like, I'm glad you said it, because now it's giving me a lot more clarity. And I was like, damn, okay, thanks. But I did it because someone did it for me. The anxiety guy did that for me. Chloe Brown did that for me, and many other people did that for me and helped me along the way. And so, again, I challenge anyone out there watching this. I challenge you guys. Put it out there somehow. Say your truth. Share your story. Like I said, share. Maybe start off sharing it in private with someone you trust, and then eventually maybe share with other people if you feel comfortable doing that. And commit to have goals, have dreams, have aspirations, and go after them. Don't let anybody tell you can't do something, or that it's not feasible, or give up on it. No, the hell with it. If you feel like God has kept something on your mind and you have some goal inside of you, and you pray about it and you feel like God is telling you to go after it, go after it. You have to. Unless you feel like God's telling you. And pray to God, hey, God, if this is in your will, lead me and guide me, show me. And He will over time. The more you put it in His hands, it may not go as quick as you want it, but His timing's perfect. And you just got to trust in Him. And you got to, again, commit to, if I keep pointing to the wrong place, commit to the long term, right? And so, uh, yeah, that's a message for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys took something from it. I was going to hit on some NBA stuff real quick, but I'm not sure if I have enough time. Well, I'll say real quick, I like what I've seen from the Cavs so far. They look really good. The loss tonight to the Clippers, that was definitely a young team moment for sure. They should have won that game. They were up by 12 with 4 minutes left, and I think they started just, they should have milked the clock more, should have took better shots. I think they were trying to really put them away so they can get out of the game early, which is kind of what a lot of young teams do. But I think, again, speaking of patience, I think that's the one thing the Cavs have to learn, which is what a lot of teams have to learn, is patience, how to win consistently. It's still early in the season. Yeah, they played well. But once you get past Christmas, that's when you really find out what kind of team you have. And so, again, I like our team. I think our team's going to be a top 4 seed this year. I think we're really good. We have a lot of young, focused guys, which is not, you don't always have that. You can have good young talent, but it doesn't mean they're focused. And so, excuse me. And so, I like what I've seen from them. Um, Other than that, around the NBA, the Lakers, I think they're going to end up blowing the Lakers up. I think as soon as LeBron passes Kareem, keeping on everybody being on the trading block, for real, they need to go ahead and just detonate that. That's a sinking ship. And I still think LeBron will not finish his career there. And I said that for a long time, and I truly believe that. And I always will, because I do think it's going to happen. I think you're seeing it unfold now. Um, so I think that's going on with the Lakers. Not a whole lot. And I think what's going on with Brooklyn with Kyrie, I think what's going on with Kyrie is kind of some bullshit, to be completely honest. You know, whether you agree with the film he posted or not, I don't think what's being done to him is fair. I don't think it's right. I don't. I think it's more just payback for what he's done in the past. For he didn't do certain things that they didn't like, and so I think they're just finally getting their. They found something to get their payback on him on, but I mean, the movie's available. It's been available on a very public platform to buy. Nobody challenges that. And the guy didn't really comment anything. He didn't promote anything. All he did was share it. But I guess you can't even do that because allegedly, it's not acceptable. And I don't know about the film. I didn't look into it. I know some people that went and watched it, and some people said have watched it have said that it's not what it's been made out to be. Again, I'm just taking their word. I'm not saying what's right or wrong. I'm just giving what I've heard, and so like everybody else. But I don't think Kyrie should be. I think this is all unnecessary. I don't think. I think it's kind of some BS, like I was saying. If you're not allowed to share something, or if you're not allowed to believe in what, even if he does believe in that, and believe, or he can believe whatever he wants. He's a human being. You have free will. If you start doing this thing where, well, we're only going to let you say what we think is acceptable, that's wrong because nobody on this earth is perfect. Nobody on this earth is God. Nobody on this earth has any moral authority, really, because we're all human beings. We're all sinners, and we're all falling short. And so, again, I don't like any of this stuff because I think a lot of people are just, it's a little kind of crazy to me. And like I said, I think it's like, well, if you don't agree with what we agree with, then we'll just get rid of you and we'll cancel you and we'll berate you and diminish your name and do all these things. But again, who says these people are right and who who says, like, in terms of, I just think some of these people that are out in the media that are pressing Kyrie. I just think, like, I'm like, well, some of the stuff you guys say isn't correct either. I mean, just to be honest. But again, it's whatever's acceptable in the worldly standards nowadays. So it's unfortunate. I know he met with Adam Silver, and I think he'll be back. I think I read earlier today that he's getting out of that and he'll be back. without any punishment, possibly. I know there was talk about retirement, and to be quite honest with you guys, if Kyrie would have retired, I would have understood it, because I think it's kind of like, I don't think making somebody like, you got to take classes, and we basically like, we need you to believe what we believe. We need you to think how we think because we're right. I just think that's wrong. I don't think you can't make somebody, believe what you want them to believe. That's their free will between them and God. And a lot of people can't accept that because, I mean, let's be honest, a lot of people out there don't believe in God, and that's their choice. But, not, again, I'm not, I know people that are like that I love dearly. Um, I don't treat them any different than anybody else. But again, you can't make people uh, believe what you want them to believe. You can't force anybody to do anything. That's wrong. So, uh, but some people don't agree with that, and some people, unfortunately, just go along with the same. Nobody questions anything nowadays. Anything they tell you to do, you just line right up and do it nowadays. That's what everybody does. Think this way, talk this way. And this is a way culturally, like with music, or how heavy music influences people now. How music has driven everybody away from, especially like, I'm really speaking of people my age. How music, the new music nowadays is, some of it's okay, but some of it, a lot of it though, is just complete trash. Let's be honest. Listen to the lyrics, and a lot of it's just, I've seen a lot of people I know, people I kind of, or just I see in general. They grew up in good homes. They went to church, and they knew the Lord. And as they got a little older and they went off in the real world and the college, and they get out of college, and they start getting influenced by all these things because they're very vulnerable. They're young. Uh, they've kind of gone away from God and who they are and their values. And so, uh, again, be careful what you let influence you. And I think that's what you're seeing a lot of nowadays. It's just people trying to force you to think a certain way and trying to make you uh, conform. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it comes down to battle of good versus evil. And you got to be willing to stand the fight. And, if Christ can take what he took to the cross, whatever I face here on earth, I got it pretty good. So they can do whatever they want, but ain't gonna bother. I know where I'm going when I die. And so, yeah, it can be scary at times. It could be, you want to be quiet, not say anything, but at the end of the day, who cares? Like I said earlier with this whole show, you got to be you better stand with truth. And because again, if you don't trust Jesus, you don't trust God, you're gonna have many sorrows on your path. You might have some temporary relief. You're never gonna have that full fulfillment and satisfaction that you want and crave for. And I see a lot of people on the other side that are kind of like, they just look kind of empty inside. They talk really fast. They're really sporadic in everything they do. They just look like they have no inner peace. They're never calm. They're always on the go, always trying to go, and trying to prove something to everybody. And you just don't have any inner peace in your life. And you're like that. But when you align yourself with truth, and speak your truth, you have more peace. And so again, I'm kind of going back when I was talking about the show, but it kind of goes with this thing with Kyrie. Kyrie can believe whatever he wants. If you don't like it, then don't pay attention to him. That's simple. And so that's how I look at it. But whatever. Um, and at the end of the day, just a basketball player. Like, it's just basketball. But we've taken things like that. We've made them more important than what should be important. We idolize and make other things God now that shouldn't be idolized. No, we shouldn't idolize anything. And a lot of things we shouldn't treat as godly figures. And so, but that's a whole nother topic. Other than that, other than wrapping up in sports, I think hopefully Ohio State doesn't have to play in a win game again this week. It should be clear Saturday. I expect them to light up Indiana and win pretty convincingly and keep on going towards the last game of the year, which we're all looking forward to. Um, if the Browns can win this Sunday, somehow it's gonna be tough. But if they can win, I think they can. I think they have a chance. I think they're back in it somehow because I think I wouldn't pick them to beat the Bills, but the Bills did just lose to the Jets. They look a little vulnerable. Now the Browns are inconsistent, so you can't count on them. But the Bucks haven't been as good. So I think if they can if they could somehow squeeze out 2 more wins somehow in the next 3 games before Watson comes back, maybe then they got a chance maybe to make the playoff. I don't know, but we'll see what happens this Sunday. If they can win, I think it gives us some hope, some at least some puncher's chance. So you're back. You're kind of in it. You're back in it. So we'll see what happens. And then when I was Saturday night, I'm looking forward to that. UFC 281, I believe. But Adesanya versus Pereira. I didn't even know Adesanya's one of my favorite fighters. He's going to rematch. And obviously, when they kickboxed back in the day, him and Alex Pereira beat him both times. And the last time they even KO'd him. And so I'm looking forward. I think Izzy's going to come out. I think it's gonna be a good fight because Pereira's a hell of a fighter. But I think it's gonna be a great fight. I think it's gonna be a classic matchup because I think there's a lot at stake, a lot of emotions, there's gonna be a lot into this fight, more than usual. And so I'm thinking I think AZ's gonna win in the end somehow. He'll find a way. I think he's the better fight. He's a better fighter than he was back then, and it's a different sport too. So I'll take Izzy. And there's some other good fights too. I think you got what's the other Poirier and Michael Chandler. I'll go with Poirier. I think he's just a better overall fighter. But yeah, looking forward to that Saturday night, watching that. That'd be fun. Looking forward to that fight with Izzy and Pereira for a while. So, but yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. This outdoor edition of The Real. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed today. And please leave a comment below. Hit me up online. I'm an open book. Don't be shy. I'm not a scary, intimidating. I hope I'm not. I'm always willing to talk about anything. If you guys have any questions about what I said today, just hit me up. I'm just a normal, average guy who just sits back and eats pretzels and all that good stuff. And so I'm just a regular dude. And yeah, but if you guys have any questions about anything I said today, all that good stuff, make sure you share this video if you feel like somebody needs it. Subscribe to Man the Anxiety Guy. Go subscribe to my man Kwame Brown. Yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out of here, and hope you guys are good.